Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Newsbrowse News broadcast. Russian President Vladimir Putin visited China less than a week after U.S. President Donald Trump's trip to Beijing, NPR reports. Putin's visit aimed to reaffirm what the Kremlin described as truly unprecedented Russia-China ties, focusing on economic cooperation and key international and regional issues. Both leaders, who refer to each other as friend, discussed strengthening strategic collaboration, with China being Russia's top trading partner and a major customer for its oil and gas, showing a 35% increase in exports in the first quarter of 2026. This visit highlights China's complex diplomatic strategy, maintaining stable relations with the U.S. while preserving strong ties with Russia, especially as China continues trade with Russia despite Western sanctions over the Ukraine conflict and provides high-tech components for its military. Moscow views Beijing's dialogue with Washington as a global stabilizing factor. UPI reports that health officials in the Democratic Republic of Congo have announced 118 suspected Ebola deaths as the epidemic continues to spread across the region. This is a significant increase from the 80 suspected deaths reported by the World Health Organization just days prior. The WHO declared the Ebola outbreak in both the DRC and neighboring Uganda a public health emergency of international concern on Saturday. As of Monday, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention reported 11 laboratory-confirmed and 336 suspected cases in the DRC and 2 confirmed cases in Uganda, one of which resulted in death linked to recent travel to the DRC. Congolese officials noted the virus has now been reported in 5 health zones. Both DRC and Ugandan authorities are urging residents to avoid physical contact and report any Ebola-like symptoms. The WHO African region has delivered nearly 12 tons of emergency supplies, including personal protective equipment, to the DRC to aid frontline workers. African Union Commission Chairperson Mahmoud Ali Yusuf called for intensified support for preparedness and response efforts from member states and partners. Ebola is a highly fatal disease with a mortality rate of approximately 50%, transmitted from wild animals and spread through direct contact with infected bodily fluids. NHK reports that Japanese Prime Minister Takeshi Sanae and South Korean President Lee Jae-myung have officially started their highly anticipated summit in Andong, South Korea. The two leaders initiated a small group meeting at a hotel on Tuesday afternoon. Andong holds particular significance as it is the hometown of South Korean President Lee Jae-myung. This meeting marks an important step in bilateral relations between Japan and South Korea, with expectations for discussions on regional stability and mutual cooperation. According to Lianhe Zhaobao, the International Monetary Fund, it released a report on Monday, May 18, warning that the ongoing situation in the Middle East is undermining the short-term economic growth prospects for the United Kingdom. The IMF forecasts that the UK's economic growth rate will decrease to 1.0% in 2026. Additionally, rising energy prices are expected to temporarily drive up the inflation rate. The report noted that despite facing trade tensions and tightening global financial conditions, the UK economy achieved a 1.4% growth in 2025. However, entering 2026, increased energy costs will lead to reduced consumer spending and higher production costs, compounded by tighter financial conditions and heightened uncertainty. The IMF cautioned that if the Middle East conflict persists for an extended period, leading to prolonged increases in energy and food prices, global market volatility will continue, thereby eroding confidence and impacting economic activity. Furthermore, if energy price shocks have a significant secondary impact on inflation, stricter monetary policies would result in tighter credit conditions and slower economic growth. The IMF's updated forecast for the UK's 2026 growth, now at 1.0%, marks an upward revision from the 0.8% predicted in its April World Economic Outlook report, attributed to data corrections and the UK economy's strong performance in the first quarter of the year. Alex Saab, a prominent Colombian businessman and a close associate of former Venezuelan leader Nicolas Maduro, made his initial appearance in a Miami federal courtroom on Monday. He faces charges of conspiracy to launder money through U.S. banks. According to UPI, U.S. authorities allege Saab illicitly profited from Venezuela's subsidized food program, CLAP, by paying bribes to government officials and expanding the scheme to include illegal oil sales. This is Saab's second extradition to the United States. He was previously arrested in Cape Verde in 2020, but was returned to Venezuela in a 2023 prisoner exchange by the Biden administration, receiving a pardon for earlier charges. Following Donald Trump's re-election in 2025 and Maduro's subsequent U.S. arrest, Saab was redetained by Venezuelan authorities under Delcy Rodriguez and again extradited. Speculation now arises that Saab could become a crucial witness in the U.S. prosecution against Maduro, offering insights into Venezuela's alleged kleptocracy. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video.